Generating traffic and sales can be a challenge for online merchants. But selling on the Walmart Marketplace puts your products in front of millions of customers who shop on Walmart.com. And right now, sellers who join Walmart Marketplace can save up to 50% on referral and fulfillment fees for the first 90 days. So get started today. Head over to marketplace.walmart.com/savings. That's marketplace.walmart.com/savings.
Today's podcast is sponsored by SLI Systems, providers of intelligent site search and navigation solutions. Learn more at sli-systems.com and listen to their interviews at ecommercepodcast.com. Welcome to the E-Commerce Conversation with Pat Callahan, a weekly podcast focusing on e-commerce topics, featuring interviews with prominent people in the e-commerce space. And now let's move right on over to Pat to see who he has queued up for this week's interview.
Welcome to E-Commerce Conversations with Pat Callahan. Today I'm joined by Rand Fishkin, CEO and co-founder of SEOmoz.org. Welcome, Rand.
Thanks, Pat. Appreciate being here.
It's great to have you here. You know, the first thing, I wanted to introduce you as a Seattle-based SEO company, but I figured you could tell us best what SEOmoz is all about.
Well, it's a tough question because SEOmoz is changing, and I think it's so many different things to different people. But you know, the way that we look at our company is really as a couple of things. First off, I think at this point, primarily, especially with our new investment capital, we are primarily focused on providing tools and services and premium content to our premium members, which is kind of an interesting model. It's something new that we just started trying in February, and we've had a ton of success with. It's been really exciting, and it's great to be exposed to so many people with different issues and problems across the web. We also are still a search marketing consultancy. We do consulting for a few large high-profile clients, but that is kind of a smaller chunk of our time and of what all the folks here are invested in. And, you know, we're also obviously something of a news and community education hub. The blog and SEOmoz and the articles that are put out for free on the site.
How about the name? I'm curious about the name.
Well, so I mean, when we started, we had always envisioned, or my vision really was that SEOmoz would be a place where there would be open discussion, where nothing would be hidden, where there'd be a lot of contribution from community members as well. And so SEOmoz kind of fit that, using the Moz ethos from Mozilla Foundation and DMoz and ChefMoz and all those projects.
I see. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's stick with SEO. I wanted to talk about, our magazine mainly focuses towards small to mid-sized businesses, and I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the mistakes you've seen.
Sure. Well, I guess I'd say that I think there are, a multitude of issues that you can encounter if you're not careful and well-versed, but some of the most common ones that I see are folks who haven't thought through their navigation and whether search engines can crawl that, whether that navigation is through JavaScript or through Flash or form submission, or in an image map, which can be a little tough, or frames. We see problems all the time with content that simply isn't parsable by search engines. Content that's inside an image, inside an external JavaScript file, inside Flash content or a Java applet, and those pieces of content just can't be seen by the search engine. So of course, when that text isn't seen, you're not going to be able to rank for it. We also see issues all the time. I think a lot with duplicate content. That's one of the biggest issues of the last couple of years, where sites will have pieces of their content either that they're licensing out or that they have in multiple formats internally on their own websites. That can be hazardous to rankings as it kind of splits up your ranking ability for any one given piece of the content. And there are dozens, probably hundreds more, but I think those are maybe some of the most common ones.
That's great. How about success stories that you've seen?
Well, one of the things that I love is a friend of mine, Marshall, who works for the New York Times, did some fantastic work for them, and he's been working there a couple of years doing SEO, and the results have been tremendous. Recently they opened up their Time Select product, opened up their archives for free to the general public and to the search engines, based on the fact that they realized that the content was more valuable as free and available than it was as a paid product. And I think that's just amazing, and it speaks to the power of what Marshall's been able to do with the New York Times' revenue model and traffic from search and all those kinds of things. It's quite amazing to think that 70 or 80 years of archives are now opened up for the entire world to see for free because of the power of search and of SEO.
That is cool. Can you tell me what small to mid-sized businesses can expect to pay for optimizing a site?
It's a tough question, Pat. The trouble with nailing down a single price is that there are, in my opinion at least, no two projects that have a similar amount of work that goes into them. And so thus, I think that your price is going to be based on how much work needs to be done, what needs to be fixed, what needs recommendations, what needs, whether you require keyword research or link building or social media marketing, content generation on the site, viral content creation. All of those things are critical elements of SEO. The question is, are you getting someone who's going to provide you with some recommendations? Are they going to be doing hands-on work? How much of it? How big is your site? How much work still needs to be done? All of those questions can figure into a price. In terms of what we've charged over the years, I think that you should probably be expecting to spend, I'd say, on a relatively standard SEO contract, and I'm throwing these numbers out there, and there's going to be a wide range, but if you're looking for a relatively inexpensive provider, I would say that something between $1,000 and $5,000 for an initial contract should get you at least started in the process.
Okay.
Let's put it that way. And if you're interested, I did write a blog post about SEO pricing where I kind of detailed some of the different, I guess, models that are out there, many of the different pricing structures that you might expect to see. And if you search for SEO pricing and costs, you will get that as the first result at Google or any of the other engines. And that blog post kind of has a chart where it shows, at the high end, this is what I would expect to pay for this service. At the low end, here's what I expect to pay for these services, all that kind of stuff. So that might be helpful.
Definitely, and I'll definitely check it out, and I hope that the people that are listening do too. Here's a question that I come across a lot, and I'm sure you do too, daily, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. How do you get from page, let's say, 82 in search results to page 1 without having to pay for a pay-per-click campaign?
Well, I mean, SEO is the answer there. There's a whole lot of elements that go into what separates, top rankings from low rankings. But, my opinion is that there's a few big ones. Number one is, are you putting the keywords in the right places on the page? And are you doing that in an intelligent fashion? Then internally on your website, are you linking to that page and linking to it with the right anchor text and, linking to it in ways that are passing juice intelligently? There's external stuff too. Are you doing a good job marketing your site? Are you doing, if you're getting a lot of links into your domain overall, you should be able to rank pretty darn well if you can get a lot of links to your site and then send that link juice over to the pages that you want ranking. You also might need to, in the event that you've got a very, very competitive term, actually be generating external links to that specific page, and that requires web marketing, kind of a public relations, I guess, for the web, and also, might require that you go and find some good directories or local business listings to place your site. You might need to go, buy some links from some folks. You might need to create some viral content that folks are going to naturally link to. All of those kinds of things are going to figure into what differentiates a number 1 ranking from a, number 50 ranking.
Okay, that certainly makes sense. The last thing I wanted to talk to you about today, Rand, was your blog.
Sure.
A lot of people are blogging these days, and you certainly have found a successful formula in the blogosphere. And I was wondering what advice you would share on how to start a blog and just how to keep it going and how to attract interest.
Yeah, well, I would say, blogging is one of the biggest tasks that I have every day, between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. After my fiance goes to sleep, I am up blogging pretty much 5 nights out of the week, Sunday through Thursday, for a release of some new content on Monday through Friday. And It is a challenge. It's a challenge to come up with good material. I have a very inquisitive mind by nature, and I'm always curious about stuff, so I'm constantly reading about this subject, constantly learning new things, and then trying to share my experiences. I think that with the blog, there was a great study. I want to say it was through eMarketer, but I'm not exactly sure who the source is right now. But they had queried a lot of people who read blogs on a regular basis about why they chose certain blogs and how they chose certain blogs. And the number one thing for what indicates the quality of a blog to you, and it was quality of writing. And what makes you want to read some blogs over others? And the number one thing was quality of writing. And how do you find new blogs and decide that they're good? And it was the number one thing was quality of writing. So it does take, I think, looking at yourself and deciding whether you have the skills as an author to put together well-written pieces on a consistent basis, and that would be the biggest thing I would recommend. If you can do that, I think that a lot of good things in blogging will follow you. Your marketing will be easier. Your connecting with other bloggers will be easier. Finding places to guest post, getting interviews, generating content that people are going to want to link to that will have people finding your site. All of those things will happen if you can write well.
I think that's great advice, and I certainly check out Rand's blog on a regular basis, and I would encourage everyone else that is listening as well. It is a great blog, and there is always useful information in there.
Well, thanks, Pat.
You bet. So, Rand, it's time to wrap this up.
That's all the time we have for this week's e-commerce conversation with Pat Callahan. I hope you enjoyed it. Tune in next week for another new episode to find out who Pat will be speaking with.